And then by Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, I got hit with the bug. Well, it turns out, and I didn't know this until afterwards, until like that Thursday. It was a one-day thing. I didn't get the flu. It was a one-day thing. But that Wednesday, I missed the show. Like, I was sick, just puking. It was terrible. I stayed in the hotel room, not get everyone else sick, and it was kind of going around. But if you guys remember all the stories that started coming out around Thursday, the Eagles are just sick. I mean, they're contagious. Well, we stayed on the same floor as the Eagles. So here we are. Now, I did not – look, I'm not a terrorist. I didn't go, like, rubbing door handles. But we were all touching the same elevator thing.
Chris Hansen here, and I'm going to need you all to take a seat right over there and check out Birds versus Boys.
I think you're completely right here, and I hate it.
Yep. Hey, idiots. Stop doing dumb things. I got 2 phones. Upside alert. Upside alert. I might go insane.
I think you're already there. There's no hope. Hope is gone.
If this was an AFC North podcast, we'd be done in 15 minutes.
Bob Hope.
I'm going to drink bleach.
That is
the team you promised me you were going to be this year!
This is the Consciously Hopeful podcast.
I'll be watching.
Welcome to episode 32 of Birds vs. Boys. We are coming to you on a Thursday, recording on a Wednesday, and the Cowboys played on Tuesday and lost again, which I was happy about. We will be joined today for an extensive interview with the one and only Kevin KT Turner down there in Dallas. But before then, Aidan and I are going to get into a little birds and boys here. And this is the first time we're recording, Aidan, since Carson Wentz has officially been benched. So KMess here with you, sponsored by Stateside Vodka as always. And I'm just going to give it over to Aidan here because I'm sure you got a lot to talk about.
Me? Well, yeah. Physically, I'm not okay. But mentally, I'm also not okay. But emotionally, I'm also not okay.
So not okay.
So I'm not okay. This was inevitable. Jalen Hurts is the starter now. It is putting a Band-Aid over a bullet wound and hoping that fixes it. Mm-hmm. You can see it coming a mile away. It doesn't mean that it's right. It doesn't mean that it's good. It doesn't mean that it's going to solve anything, but it's the current state of affairs.
I guess it's the right thing to do. I mean, he flashed against the Packers, but I think I don't know. I'm still Wentz has looked really bad, but this team is just very bad. I'm hoping for your sake and Carson's sake, because he doesn't seem like a bad guy, that this is just a mental and physical break for him.
Carson, buddy, if you're listening, I know I'm very glad that you responded to Giovanni. I don't think you'll respond to me, but I am also taking a mental and physical break. So if you want to take a mental and physical break together, let's do it, because I am exhausted. So if you need it, I need it. We'll take the break together.
That would be probably your most favorite break of all time.
It would be my favorite break between the 17 breaks I take at work to promote this podcast.
From Branded Sports, of course. Follow us on Twitter at Birds vs. Boys Pod, and definitely on our new TikTok, where we are taking over TikTok.
I'm such a Gen Zer at this point. Those little 18-year-old fucks have this figured out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I don't, as I'm 33. But
yeah, I don't.
What do you think moving forward here? Do you think he's just going to start the rest of the season health-wise, if as long as he's healthy?
I really don't know. I don't know what to expect because, usually, okay, here's the thing. Usually a backup quarterback comes in and they do provide you a spark, which is what Doug Peterson is looking for. Mm-hmm. And is that a long-term thing? Usually not, but it does give you some short-term success.
Yep.
But I don't know if it's going to happen this time because it seems like they're just creating a civil war in the locker room. So you have, everyone's seen it. Fletcher Cox liked the tweet where they're like, who should the Eagles start? And he liked it for Carson Wentz. Uh-huh. And then you have Jason Kelce come out today and just completely bash everybody and say, for us to even be in this position, it's really hard to believe. And said Carson is the one taking the blame, but everyone, including coaching, that was not me paraphrasing. He said, quote unquote, including coaching, which that's raised my eyebrows a little bit, needs to look themselves in the mirror. And then Fletcher Cox defended his tweet and said, Carson's my best friend on the team. Like, this, it's not right. That is what it is, but it is what it is. And I'm going to support either guy. So it seems like you have the veterans who are here who lean towards Carson Wentz. And then the younger guys, Tim McManus was on 97.5 today, who says younger guys really lean towards Jalen Hurts. And I'm thinking to myself, well, good, let's start Jalen Hurts. As long as John fucking Hightower is happy, let's start Jalen Hurts, and that'll solve all of our problems. At least Davion Taylor and Sean Bradley will be fucking content in their miserable fucking lives because Jalen Hurts is the starter.
Because he's the cool guy.
Yeah, because he's cool.
And he can squat 600. Did you know he could squat 600 pounds?
Squat 600 pounds. Who cares? Honestly, can Tom Brady squat 600 pounds? No, but he has 5 rings. Like, who cares? I can't stand this stuff. Is he good or not? And that's my favorite thing in the draft. Can the kid ball? We talk about this with the Ravens. Can the kid ball out or can he not? That's all I care about. I don't care about what he looks like coming in to the game, if he's fashionable. Like, those things are awesome. I loved Allen Iverson and Mike Vick because they were cool.
Yep.
But those guys brought 0 titles to this city. Are we just going down that path again where we're falling in love with someone because they're cool?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I think. And I really feel bad. Greg Ward says he's tight with Jalen Hurts. We always followed each other as quarterbacks. Hilarious. Just to be in the same huddle, it's kind of crazy. He's a natural leader. He's going to try to take control and make plays. Well, as long as Greg Ward is happy. So it's like all of the guys who you associate with very little success, like their entire success in this organization is 9-7 team that really only was that they got to the playoffs because of Carson, and now they're Jalen Hurts guys. But you can like see it coming a mile away that this is just going to be divisive. And do they play well against the Saints? Is there a spark if half the team doesn't agree with the decision?
No.
How's that spark them?
Even if you win. Because then it's still division in the locker room.
Exactly. It just makes it harder. And honestly, for so many reasons, would be better if they lost. And another thing, like we don't bring this up, like how much they screw over Jalen Hurts because of how much they screw over Carson Wentz. So They bring in this rookie quarterback. Like, well, here's the Saints defense, the best team in the NFC. Figure it out, kid.
There you go. Good luck.
Here you go. Provide us a spark against the Saints defense. It's just like, it's unbelievable. And I do feel bad for both guys. I feel really bad for Carson. It's just, anyone who, and we talk about it with Kevin Turner. I thought Kevin did a good job of not putting things in a microscope, looking at things in a wider view. Anyone who looks at things in a wider view sees how badly they screw over both of these quarterbacks.
Yep. Yeah, it's like giving Hurts as like a chef, and they're like, the Queen of England's coming over, and we need you to cook a Michelin star 5-star meal for them. Here's some ramen noodles.
Yeah, and you have to do it in a kitchen that's on bar rescue.
Literally. Go.
Just figure it out, and then we'll be like, okay, well, I guess Hurts isn't the guy. Maybe we need a new quarterback. No, just stop. Are you going to talk yourself into Spencer Rattler in 2 years? If Jimmy G becomes a free agent, are you going to talk yourself into him? No, it is not the quarterback. It is everything that surrounds him. Just stop. This, as I'm going crazy, it brings up my last point on this. But Doug today, speaking of all the problems, he says to help Jalen Hurts in his first start, they are going to put emphasis on the run game and have some quick passes. And I was thinking to myself,
Carson?
Well, yeah, I was going to say, we couldn't have done that from the start. You ever see Dark Knight and the Joker's like, you know how I got these scars? And like, as you're watching, you're thinking to yourself, I wonder how this guy did become a maniac. When I heard Doug Peterson say, well, now we're going to start putting emphasis on the run game and we're going to do quick passes. Then I was like, all right, I see how that guy became a fucking maniac because I'm going to follow suit.
It's so simple. Does Doug just not want to be here anymore?
I don't think so. I really don't, which is a
Not
shame.
here,
but
but
I really don't. Here in Philadelphia, no,
Yeah.
I don't think so, to be completely honest.
I mean, it's a weird feeling for me because I love the shit show, and I'm so happy that the Eagles are in this shit show. But at the same time, I've always been kind of a Carson apologist from afar. I've always said he was better than Dak. And I feel for you personally. You're my friend. And I don't like that you're going through this at the same time, really enjoying that you're going through this.
Thanks. I think way to be there as a friend.
I'm here for you. I'm picking you up right after I threw you down.
I was about to say you punched me in the face, but at least you got me an ice pack afterward.
Exactly.
Thanks.
And then I'm gonna kick you after. Take out your kneecaps.
Yeah.
So what happens this weekend in New Orleans?
It's a home game, but
against New Orleans.
They lose. I don't know what to expect. I don't know if he'll actually give them a spark. The Saints are a really good team. The entire country will watch again. These the Eagles are just playing like a stretch of primetime games, and we've known it this whole season. It's like daylight savings time. Like in the back of your head, you're always like, oh, this terrible dark thing is about to happen. But you put it in the back of your head and you try to forget about it. And then you walk outside one day and it's like sunset at 3:57 and you're like, God damn it. That's how I feel right now. I'm like, I totally forgot we have to do all these primetime games.
That's why I was so happy when I saw the news that the Cowboys and the 49ers are taken out of primetime and it's going to be a 1:00 game now. I mean, that shows you it's 2020 when the Cowboys are being taken off primetime.
Yes, yeah. The flex out was pretty surprising. It's pretty wild. These are the times that we live in. Speaking of Cowboys, do you have anything? I know we're going to do most of it in our interview with KT, but do you have anything before we get there?
I do. One, Greg Zuerlein sucks. Get him off the team. I don't understand. They had Kai Forbath last year, who was perfect for them, and then they signed him, and then they hired Bones Fossil, and he's like, I'm bringing in my guy. And they're like, all right, well, we'll have him compete with Forbath. And he's like, no, he's going to be the guy. And then they just cut Forbath, and Zuerlein has been a fucking disaster all year. So now the Cowboys, on top of everything else, have a kicker issue again, just like you guys. But yeah, my biggest concern was something that Jeff Kavanaugh brought up on 105.3 The Fan today, our personal friend, Jeff Kavanaugh. He said the biggest thing, and I've been saying this from the beginning of the year, is there's such a my guy dysfunction within this franchise right now, because it starts at the top with Jerry and Steven, where they interviewed two guys, and KT talks about this too, is Marvin Lewis was just we'll give you the interview. And right away, McCarthy was Jerry and Steven's guy. So he was just their guy. So they brought him in. And then what does McCarthy do? He brings in his guy, Mike Nolan, because he was his friend. And then what does he also do? He brings in his guy who played for him, Al Harris, who's never been a coach, and now he's coaching the secondary. He's terrible. And then the same thing with Fossil. He comes in, he brings in his guy with Zuerlein, and there's no accountability. They're all buddy friends. And when things go wrong, they point the fingers at the players. Yeah, the players stink, but there's such an issue in this coaching staff. And again, KT is going to talk about this with us in our interview coming up next, so I don't want to dive into it, but it's just the dysfunction. It's like a bad old man club that they're just like, yeah, we're terrible here, but we're just going to sit and smoke cigars together and everything's fine, but our wives are at home hating us and we're not taking care of the children. We'll just be here till 2 a.m. And then what happens? The wives go and find another fucking guy. Okay. And that's what's going to happen with the fans. Go Cardinals. And even they fucking can't win anymore for me.
I know. They
go Irish.
There are some people who it's good to be friends with them, but you shouldn't be roommates with. That's what it sounds like in Dallas.
Mm-hmm. So I was happy the way the offensive line played. I could not stop laughing when Darian Thompson had an interception because I've been ragging on him all year, but then he looked lost. Leighton Vander Esch looked just completely lost last night. And there were just guys wide open. And you were like, how does that even happen? Like how there's not someone 30 yards from him right now. Like,
yeah.
And then just up the middle all night runs through this defense. They I think gave up 160 rush yards in the first half. So happy they lost. Happy the way the bad offensive line played, and just mind blown away how bad this defense is. Those are my takeaways. My last takeaway is just start me at quarterback the rest of the season, just so they lose to the Bengals and continue to lose the rest of the season. Even though Kevin Turner is going to talk about, do they really want to be picking in the top 5 this year?
Just thought about this off my brain right now. Revenge game for Andy Dalton against the Bengals this week. So if they start him, who knows? He might get the win.
Oh, they're going to get. I think if they start Andy Dalton, they're going to. Unfortunately, the Cowboys will beat the Bengals.
Oh, what a shame if you guys jumped over us in that draft order. What a shame. All right. Well, let's get into our interview with Kevin Turner because it was very good. We touched on a lot of subjects from the dysfunction, like you mentioned, of both of our teams, for the overall landscape of the NFC East, not just this year, but for years to come. There are not one, but 2 stories in there that you probably didn't know until this podcast. So that's my favorite part. And then lastly, those guys are great with the draft, and we talked a little bit about the 2021 NFL draft. So without further ado, it is our interview with Kevin Turner.
All right, super excited for the opportunity once again to share the gift of what DFW Sports Media is with Aidan. You can catch him on 97.1 The Eagle. He's on the How About Them Cowboys podcast. Definitely on the draft show with our guys JC and Yeomans. And he's a must follow on Twitter at KT Fun Tweets. It's the one and only Kevin Turner. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing excellent, guys. I got home from work at 5:30 and I was like, I'm pretty tired because I stayed up and watched the Cowboys last night and then stayed up late and had to do a podcast about them. So I just woke up from a nap. I think my hair might show that. I don't know.
Oh, looks great.
I went to sleep for an hour and I'm ready to kick some ass now.
That's what matters. So that's where I want to start. I want to dive into Tuesday night football, and Cowboys lose in Baltimore, obviously. Mm-hmm. But first thing, were you as bummed as I was for Dez and what unfolded for him last night?
I mean, yeah, I think it sucks. I think I didn't understand. I don't know about you guys. On my timeline, or at least on Twitter, there's a lot of people going, how could they take him off the field? Like, how could they do that? Like, and why are they still playing the game? If he tested positive, why are they still playing? And I'm like, because that whole team has it. Like, it's the Ravens. Like, they all have it. Like guys played in that game last night that have the coronavirus. Mm-hmm. There's 4 strains running through that locker room. Like, someone had it. They could have tested negative 7 times. Someone had it. So I think I was more like, I don't understand why everyone's like outraged. Like, there were people going, the NFL's a fraud. And I'm like, I mean, look, they've got every one of their games on TV. They did what every business would have done. They found a way to do it. Like, these guys chose to play. Like, I'm not saying it's not dumb. Like, it is dumb, but like I would have started 2 weeks ago by probably making the Ravens take a loss for not being ready to go by Tuesday against the Steelers. You know, so yeah, I guess I was more shocked about the people's reaction. Or at least what I saw, people were just going, huh? Dez is gone. Well, I'm not a big believer in just because Dez is upset that the world has to shut down. That's just me.
That is very true. Well, he was drinking wine and then he quit football and he was opening a business and now he's back. So
yeah. He coped with a hard day at work like we all do. He was just like, all right, I'm just going to go home and open wine.
Yeah. That's the beauty of Dez, though. Dez is a real dude. So, like, what he's feeling, it's very relatable because he, get pissed off for a few minutes. Like, it happens.
Yeah. Hey, it's fine. He got something big taken away from him, so he was pissed. He was going to drink some wine. All right, your takeaways from the game. Were you more impressed with the way this offensive line played, only giving up 1 sack and 48 dropbacks, or was it more about how lost this defense looked again?
I thought we were going to have a game that would be similar to me, watching the Eagles play on a weekend out, basically in terms of sacks. Full disclosure, I'm a Packers fan, so I just saw the Packers and Eagles play. You got a good look at the Eagles again. Like, I thought Andy Dalton was going to get sacked 10 times going into the game. The Ravens lead the league in blitz percentage and things like that. I was like, this is not look good for Andy Dalton. It turns out he just got bit on the nose by a dog or something. I don't know if you guys saw that thing on the end of his nose. But
I was going to tweet out like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Dalton or something. I didn't know what was going on. I thought it was a Christmas thing he was doing.
Yeah, I thought the Cowboys' offensive line did a better job than I thought. I think that's the thing that'll probably go. It'll be the thing that's not talked about as much as because that defense is just it sucks, man. Like the Cowboys' run defense against the Eagles' offensive line and pass protection. That's the worst of the worst. Injuries or not, whatever. It's week 14. Everyone's hurt. All right. Like everyone's hurt. I'm tired of injuries. All right. Everyone's hurt. That is bad. Like, and it's bad from a talent standpoint. It's bad from an assignment standpoint. So, yeah, I was actually kind of pleased. I know a lot of Cowboy fans, and me kind of neutral on it. A lot of Cowboy fans just wanted to lose and get a top 5 pick. And I totally get that. Trust me. Totally understand. But I think like watching the game, when the game starts, I want them to win. And I was sitting there going, this is going fine at halftime. One score game. And then of course in the second half we kind of find out what it really was. And it's just a bad team going up against a decent team, I guess.
Yeah. CD comes down with that catch before halftime. It might have been a different game.
Dude, that was huge. Yeah. The play that was really the game changer after Justin Tucker missed that field goal after it was jinxed by Joe and Troy. After he missed that field goal, that is where because the Cowboys get the ball back and Brandon Williams deflected the pass and Patrick Queen, the LSU rookie linebacker, intercepts it. That's where the game change was right there. And then the next play, the defense doesn't hold up at all, and the Ravens score over the top. I was like, you know what? You had them 10-7, and you had the ball kind of middle of the second quarter at that point, kind of early second quarter, but a chance to have a big drive and maybe go get some more points. And maybe the game looks a little different if that play doesn't happen. But in the end, really wouldn't have mattered because the Ravens were going to do whatever they wanted to with you on defense.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much how I handle the Eagles every week. I'm like, there's one play here or there. And then I'm like, at the end, I'm like, you know what? We never really stood a chance. So we touched on both of our teams. We both lost again, but Washington and the Giants, huge marquee wins. So could you see one of these teams sneaking in a playoff win if they get that 4 seed?
Yeah, that's the whole frustrating thing I think about all of this is you go into the year, everyone's talking about the Cowboys and the Eagles being the favorites to win the division, and you see the Giants and Washington somehow finding a way through all of it to get better. And that's where I struggle with someone who's like, well, Dak's hurt. I'm like, well, dude, Colt McCoy just won a game for the Giants. Dude, Alex Smith was not supposed to play this year. I mean,
he wasn't supposed to ever walk again.
Or ever. Yeah.
So much less play this year. Like, it's not like they're playing with their first choice. They're playing with their third choice at quarterback after Kyle Allen, too. So, like, there's a lot there that makes me go, other people are winning. Like, so figure it out and whatever it is. But it's just the weakness for both of these teams is just so blatant. When I watch the Eagles play, I watch a team that just doesn't, and I understand the offensive line can ruin everything, but they don't feel like they separate. I'm not sure, and I said this in the Super Bowl years. So the year they won the Super Bowl, and a lot of people were calling me a moron, and I could still be wrong, but I would like to see him prove it somewhere else. I think Doug Peterson is highly overrated. I've always felt that way. Maybe he's not. So I want to be fair. But I'm like, man, I think if I was like offensive, guru, play design guy, play caller guy, who's also my head coach, I'm finding ways to design guys open quickly so my quarterback isn't regressing in year 4. I'm not saying a lot of this is not on Wentz. A lot of it is on Wentz, and a lot of it is on the offensive line, lack of weapons or whatever you want to say. Although I would say having Ertz and Goddard's pretty good weapons. You can find there are worse wide receiver crews in the league than what the Eagles have. Sometimes, though, they just don't dress them all because they're all hurt. There's a lot of games where they've had Greg Ward as their number one wide receiver.
Yeah.
So I've got some big Doug Peterson questions, to answer your question. I'm sorry I'm rambling, but to answer your question, Washington can go win a game because Alex Smith is not going to lose a game on his own. He's not going to throw the ball 20 yards downfield. He's not going to lose a game on his own, and they will find a way to get pressure on the quarterback. The Giants I'm a little more skeptical of, even with Daniel Jones, who I think is better off for them than Colt McCoy. No offense to Colt McCoy. But Colt McCoy is not the game manager that Alex Smith is. There's kind of a big drop-off there, in my opinion. But also teams that are physical up front. Washington's defensive line's physical. The New York offensive line now physical. Like, they want to get after you. Cowboys and the Eagles offensive line and defensive line for the Cowboys, they don't want none of that fight. They don't want none of that mess. So that's kind of frustrating. The Eagles have a good defensive line, but it's like you can tell they get their butt kicked too often to go win in the playoffs, even if it's a home game. Not that even matters.
Nope.
Yeah, without the fans. But I agree. I could see Washington more so just because of Alex Smith. The Daniel Jones revelation kind of shocks me a little bit. Alex Smith has always been a consistent quarterback. We just didn't know that he could play. So I definitely agree with you. And I agree with you on the criticism of Doug Peterson. So that kind of leads me into my next question about the coach of the Cowboys. So I watched your podcast teaser today, and the general gist was the players on defense aren't good. You could just draft good players, but they don't seem to be buying into the scheme. So do you think this is like a one and done situation for the coaching staff in Dallas where people aren't buying in and they may be out after year one?
They're not going to fire McCarthy just because they just won't do that. And here's the rhetoric you will get here. And this is a very passionate topic for me because I am a lifelong Packers fan. As I said earlier, I saw Mike McCarthy up close for years. The Packers, I'm not a fan, by the way. Packers won a Super Bowl with Mike McCarthy not because of him. And by the way, it was a fluke that they even made the playoffs that year. It took a Deshaun Jackson week 15 punt return against the Giants to win a game.
You're welcome.
If you remember that year, for the Packers to even make the playoffs. The Packers generally didn't make the playoffs that year. Then Aaron Rodgers got hot. The defense got some turnovers, and they ended up winning the Super Bowl. But the first thing you'd hear about Mike McCarthy is he won a ring. And I'm like, oh, he did. Okay. Sure. All right. Fine. Great. You know what? It's like that's one of those things of like, okay, he won a ring, but it's like, okay, the long snapper won a ring. No offense to all the great long snappers out there who are perfect most of the time. Long snappers are a lot like pilots, 100% every time. We never fail. We're not allowed to fail. The thing I would say about McCarthy is he had Dom Capers as his defensive coordinator for a majority of his time in Green Bay and would refuse to fire him. And all you got to do is take a quick look through Packers playoff loss box scores to find out how many points the Packers were giving up in those playoff losses. Aaron Rodgers had some really good playoff games. They're just no one thinks about him because the Packers lost because the defense sucked. Mike Nolan was McCarthy's buddy. Mike Nolan last had a defensive coordinator job in 2014, in which that defense finished 32nd in the league in most of the main stats. Mike Nolan is the guy who's going to have to go. And it's not Mike Nolan's fault that Jalen Smith isn't very good, but Mike Nolan's got to go. And I think that's where you're going to get your first headbutt moment between Jerry, Stephen, and Mike McCarthy. We haven't had it yet. Nope. They go meet after the season and go, what went wrong? McCarthy will say it's the player's fault. And they're going to go, we got to make a change at DC. And Mike Nolan's going to have to get sacrificed. And Mike Nolan's a nice guy. He doesn't need to be a defensive coordinator. Straight up. He just doesn't need to be a defensive coordinator. But they've had issues from the beginning. I mean, Jalen Smith in week 3 made a comment saying that he's complaining about the scheme. And I'm like, dude, whatever. And then they had that win over the Vikings. And it's like, okay, well, maybe it takes a couple of months to get a scheme going, right? Everyone's adjusting, all that stuff. They got rid of some of the, I would say, the sour faces in the locker room. Some guys who were one-year deals who were just kind of not fully bought in. Got rid of some guys. Yeah, Dontari Poe, Darryl Worley, Everson Griffin even was kind of I didn't feel like he wanted to be there. He was complaining about having to put a hand down in the dirt to rush instead of or about not having put a hand down the so like rushing from a 2-point stance. It's like, okay, it's a weird thing they're all complaining about. But then they win that Vikings game and Jalen's like, we're going 7-0. And I'm like, what? No, we're not. What are you doing?
Stop.
So it is A, they need better players. B, they need better players. C, they need better players. Then D, I get to my issues with probably do need to get a better defensive coordinator who can kind of unite the defense in whatever scheme they're going to go after. It's a little different this year where they didn't get to meet everyone. You guys know this. I mean, look, we can have fun doing this thing and we're talking to each other, but if we were all sitting around a table having beers, we'd feel like we knew each other a little bit better when this thing was over. That's a real thing that I think we all kind of take for granted. But what I will say this is Mike McCarthy is by far, and we'll see what Joe Judge turns into. Joe Judge hasn't earned it yet, right? But Mike McCarthy is the worst coach in the division. Like, he's just not accountable for his actions. And I hate that. You shouldn't be that way as a head coach. You should be like, that's on me. And you'll never see him do that. And it's very frustrating.
Do you think he's the worst head coach hire of this past offseason?
I do. And the reason I think that has less to do about him and more to do with the organization. I mean, you are the most popular sports franchise in the world. Statistically, the list comes out in Forbes every year, and it's like the Cowboys are the highest valued franchise. There's no salary cap on coaches, so pay someone. Pay someone good and pay them a lot, Give them an offer they can't refuse. If Bill Belichick's the best, make Bill Belichick the best offer. Maybe Bill won't uproot too late in his life. You can get someone. Like
Matt Rule was right down the road in Baylor.
And I've got it on good authority that Matt Rule was very confused that he didn't get a phone call. Wow. Because if you remember the Cowboys coaching, the interview search, and trust me, Cowboys fans were pumped up about McCarthy because he's not Jason Garrett. And I would take McCarthy over Garrett too, to be 100% clear. But when I was kind of ringing the bell in January, like, guys, you don't want McCarthy though. Like, I get it. The witch is dead and Garrett, I get it. But let's not pop the bottles yet. Let's get they hired Marvin Lewis to satisfy the Rooney Rule, and then they hired Mike McCarthy because Jerry and Steven watched the NFL Network puff piece where he said he watched every play. That's a legit thing that happened. Like, they've always thought highly of Mike McCarthy. They remember the times where Aaron Rodgers would carve him up in the last seconds. But that's Aaron Rodgers, man. Aaron Rodgers has cleaned up so many messes that have been caused by poor structure and management in Green Bay. And it makes you go, how much of Mike McCarthy's success is really because of Mike McCarthy? And he gets offended. He would get offended if you asked that question. But I'm like, dude, you worked with Joe Montana, Brett Favre, and Aaron Rodgers. Like, you're going to win a lot. Like, what do you do to help me win games? And that's what I need.
What do you do when a team hits adversity and has a backup quarterback? When other teams find ways to win, it seems like with this Dallas team, and it happened under Garrett too, if Tyron Smith is out, just Tyron Smith, it just seems like, that's it. And pack it in. We cancan't win. It's unbelievable.
You're exactly right. And it's very frustrating. And it's not even, for like 3-9, those are the outcomes, right? What are you seeing in those games? Arizona beat them 38-10. Washington beat them 41-16. We saw what happened against Baltimore last night. You're seeing teams, once they get down behind, just kind of quit too. Like, that is frustrating. And that is a DNA makeup of your roster. That's Ezekiel Elliott, who is forced to be the team leader right now. That's a bad contract that he got. A contract he got because he went to Cabo and held out. And because they wanted to intimidate him, they gave Jalen Smith a contract too when they shouldn't have. Just to say, hey, if you want to be here, we'll give you money. Well, you just gave out 2 bad contracts. So, like, those are things that they've got to be more careful about moving forward.
A certain amount of pie.
Yeah, you got a little amount of pie, but we're just going to franchise tag. Okay, you're going to franchise tag, so you're going to go 100% guaranteed money on the quarterback. That's a good decision. They build this team like it's the 90s, and you look, I don't want to be unfair. I don't want to take money out of people's pocket here, but you don't give contracts to linebackers and running backs unless that linebackers, generational, and there are a few of those guys. Zeke does not do the things that Christian McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara do. I'm even reluctant to put Dalvin Cook in there because he hasn't shown he can stay healthy that long. Like there's a clear two guys, Kamara and Christian McCaffrey. And if there's someone else I'm forgetting, feel free to let me know. Even Saquon, I worry about. We'll see how he's used, and I know he tore his ACL, but Zeke does not do those things. And if you're a running back in this league now that we throw it, I'm not paying you anymore. Like, it sucks, but the only running backs I'm paying are guys who I can say, well, he also lines up on wide receiver 20% of the time. It's the only way I can really justify it. So, but they want to pay their linebackers. So
it is even just the juice, the burst difference when 20's on the field. When you see Pollard touch the ball and he's 3 yards past the line of scrimmage, and that burst, it's like, he gets down a 13-yard run, and I'm like, well, that would have been a 4-yard run for Zeke at this point in his career.
The league's so different than when guys like, Brian Westbrook, were, hey, he's the running back one here. And even then they would sprinkle in Sproles. Did Sproles play with Westbrook, or is my time running together?
They had Sproles was right after that. They had Correll Buckhalter who would come in.
Buckhalter. Wow. Yeah. Holy cow. Well, I guess what I'm saying is like Philadelphia is a good example of the years of, especially the last 5 or 6 years. I will say that Doug Peterson does this well, although it's something that Andy Reid does. They get the most out of Boston Scott, and then he might not be great, but here's Josh Adams who can give me some carries. Mm-hmm. And also by rotating those guys in the game, you never know what's happening. Run past, with them coming in and out of the game. I know they've had issues. Like Miles Sanders, I think, is a great running back one type guy if he can stay healthy. And then you're mixing and matching all these other guys. Philadelphia has proven, and they did with LeGarrette Blount, in the Super Bowl year, like finding ways to get guys of different statures. New England does it. Like they tell you, running back by committee is where it's at, unless you've got one of those elite guys. And I understand why they drafted Zeke. I don't have a problem with the draft pick of Zeke. They did that for Romo, and Romo decided he wanted to scramble. It was real weird, but they did that for Romo, and they shouldn't have ever let Romo play in that preseason game without Tyron Smith. But the course of this franchise is just it's built, and it takes you down this road of bad decision after bad decision after bad decision. Until you get to where you are, and here's where you are. Generally, not in the NFC Championship game.
Yeah. All right. Well, speaking of bad decisions, there's a lot of decisions to be coming this offseason, right? I mean, Vince has the free agent list here, and it's a mile long, and it's a lot of guys that I don't want back on this team. But take Dak off the list. Is there even 3 guys that you want back on this team? I mean, I know who I have probably 3 guys I would like to see back.
Okay, I'm going to take Dak off, and I'm going to take LP Latsur off.
Yep.
Just to be safe here. I would like to have. Okay, so I would have Tyrone Crawford and Sean Lee back as coaches.
Okay.
If they wanted to coach.
I like that.
Let's see here. I would have Joe Looney back for interior offensive line depth if he wanted to come back.
It's one of my 3.
He would have to be reasonable, but I would bring Aldon Smith back. His money would have to be reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
I would bring back on a. I wish Cheeto would play so I could give him more. I would bring Jordan Lewis back on an Anthony Brown type contract. Agreed. So, and maybe less than that. And that's it. That's all I got for you.
The only other one I would like to see them try to bring back is Noah Brown. He's not an every down wide receiver. I just love every time I see 85 on the field, he's just doing something.
Yeah, the way they use him too, like he's good in special teams, and the way they use him is excellent. Noah Brown, and he's cheap. Happy to have him back.
Exactly.
Interested to see what the safety market looks like with Xavier Woods. Xavier Woods has proven that he is not a thumper, a come up and be strong safety. And for some reason, he needs to do that sometimes. And it's just not what he is. He's your free safety type. But God, this sucks because I liked his college tape so much.
Me too. Getting him in the 6th.
I can't justify giving him more than $5 million a year. I can't. It's just not it's not enough production. But he's on my we'll go negotiate list. Like I'm good. Like Antoine Woods is a great guy, but I'm good. Like we've done all that. I'm not doing it anymore. Cedric Wilson's a good wide receiver 4. Cedric Wilson and Noah Brown are perfect wide receiver 4 and 5 guys. I like what they do. They both play special teams. Those are guys I like having around. And I would have Blake Bell back as tight end 3. If we're going Jarwin, Schultz, Blake Bell's a good blocking tight end. I got no problems with that.
Mm-hmm.
You notice more than anything, none of these guys, or very few of these guys, are on the defensive side of the ball that you want.
Exactly. That's the problem. It's basically going to be a complete reboot of this defense going into next year. It has to be. I mean, I wouldn't, unless they take a tackle early in the draft. I feel like it's got to be almost all defense during the draft.
Well, it's better to be a Cowboy fan knowing that your quarterback is good than an Eagles fan. I would imagine Eagles fans are just confused. Like,
I've been confused my entire life.
Like, you thought Carson Wentz was good, though, right?
Oh, that's pretty much my brand. Is I still think he's good. Yeah, I think there are so many more problems that it's like, even if Jalen Hurts was good, could he be good here? No,
I think Jalen Hurts is going to get super exposed, just because it takes 2 seconds for anyone to get in the backfield. But this again, to me, again, all this stuff, it would be different if NFL coaches weren't making so much, but NFL coaches make a lot of money. Like they'll make nowadays, most of them make $5 million or more. I know it doesn't affect the salary cap or whatever. Dude, most of your roster is not making $5 million. So I need my coaches helping me win games. Mm-hmm. And the fact that Carson Wentz has broken underneath Doug Peterson is very concerning to me. My issues with Doug Peterson, I mean, with Carson Wentz, though, they do branch out a little further. One thing that Dak has improved at, and the thing, quite frankly, he couldn't do in 2016 that he can do now, is he can go up to the line pre-snap and get a feel, or at least an idea of when a coverage is going to be zone or man. And then if not see it before the snap, can see it as the ball snapped. He's picking that up. I don't think Wentz sees it. And quite frankly, when I watch the Rams, I don't think Jared Goff sees that. No. Because you can tell that he will sometimes throw the ball to these places. I mean, when they have these bad throws that are way off, when you're basically expecting a wide receiver to sit in the hole, and they're in man, and the wide receiver's still running the route, and they're like, oh, well, you didn't pick up that he was in man coverage. It seems like a simple thing, but it's not. It's a very difficult thing. But the good quarterbacks in the league, pick that up pretty quickly. Dak's figured that out. Like, he knows most of the time when that's at. Dak's issues, and I don't think Dak's an inaccurate guy, but when you see a wild throw from Dak like that, it's just because sometimes he rips it. Like, sometimes he just cuts it loose or the ball slips out of his hands. I'm seeing with Carson Wentz, uncomfortable. We're all seeing him be uncomfortable, but I'm not sure he is seeing what the defense is doing. Mm-hmm. And if you're not seeing that, then, I mean, where do we start? Because that is problematic. I got issues with, and I hate when I'm watching the draft. I hate quarterbacks because quarterbacks are so difficult. Quarterbacks are the position more than any other where you need to sit with them in a room, like the old, John Gruden locks you in a trailer and starts writing up plays on a dry erase board. Yeah, like you just start. Oh, is it true there in Boise? They, the ducks poop on the field whenever he does. They're going to tell him more. An excellent episode. But like, that's where you need to talk to them and really find out what they know, because, Jameis didn't know this stuff. Marcus Mariota didn't know this stuff. The guys that flame out, you can tell part of it is they were enabled by their college system and everything they've done to get to that point. And part of them is just the processing speed that it takes. And that's why there's only at any given time 5 to 10 elite quarterbacks, at all times. So,
yeah,
I think Lawrence is that guy. I think he can do it. And the other guys, I'm like, oh,
yeah,
nervous.
Trevor Lawrence, I feel like he's been ready to do that for years. Like he's just now getting it. I feel like ever since, even as a freshman, it felt like he just had a natural read and feel of the game that nobody else has. Yep. And it just continues. And the game is just, college is easy for him at this point. We'll see how easy it is when you're on the Jets and no one's open. But, it is interesting. I do agree. Sometimes it's a feel, comfort, read thing.
Yeah, and I think when people watch the quarterbacks in college or even, look, we're watching football. It's more fun to watch highlights, I use Josh Allen as an example in Buffalo. And he's a guy who didn't know, and he is slowly learning, but he's got a great offensive coordinator. And they've made an effort to get weapons around him. And those types of things are like important to do. Obviously Kansas City, the most underrated thing that people just didn't pick up about Pat Mahomes is that he can see all that stuff. Mm-hmm. He can see it quickly. And I don't like the thing. If you watch Pat Mahomes, you wouldn't walk away going, "Oh, I can tell that he knows that we're man and zone," or he sees that this is the area of the field to work. You would go, "God dang, what an arm!" And you'd go, "Why did he throw it into triple coverage against TCU? I don't understand." Well, because he knew Texas Tech was going to give up a touchdown on the next drive, so he had to play YOLO ball at all times. Deshaun Watson's a guy who I don't think always saw it, and now I think he does. Like, you can count on those guys to get better, and they get that good NFL coaching. That's where the regressing of Carson Wentz is a little more concerning than maybe I thought, because I was one of the guys to jump out and go, well, what's he supposed to do? Take a snap and just get sacked all game? No, he's got to throw it somewhere. That's why he's throwing interceptions, or so he's throwing bad passes. But I do think it's a little more than that. You combine that with the durability and the back and all of it. Why does Philadelphia have to be so trash, man? Come on.
Look, I'm an Eagles fan. I saw this tweet and I think it sums it up. I'm not an Eagles fan. I hate the Eagles. I just want them to succeed more than anything in life. That's pretty much where I'm at with them. So when you say these things, I just naturally agree because I'm thinking them, even though I root for the team.
Mm-hmm. Look, I want to say this. As a guy who, so it was what year would y'all win Super Bowl? 2017.
2017, mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think I got your team sick. So we were doing the Super Bowl Radio Row or whatever, and it was in Minnesota. It was like 0 degrees, but we were staying in the Mall of America because the Mall of America has a hotel. Mm-hmm. So we were staying there. So you get there, and we're like, okay, cool. There's like probably 10 of us, just like hosts. So we had two to our room. We had probably 5 rooms. So before we get on that flight, Mike Bassick, who works over at the Fan,
yep,
and Mike Bassick, we were about to leave to go to the airport, and Mike Bassick goes, "Man, I think I got the flu," and I was like, "What? How are you going to say that right now, man?" Mm-hmm. So here we are, we're all in a car, and two cars, going to the airport. We go, and then by Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, I got hit with the bug. Well, it turns out, and I didn't know this until afterwards, until like that Thursday. It was a one-day thing. I didn't get the flu. It was a one-day thing. But that Wednesday, I missed the show. Like, I was sick, just puking. All it was terrible. I stayed in the hotel room, not get everyone else sick, and it was kind of going around. But if you guys remember all the stories that started coming out around Thursday, the Eagles are just sick. I mean, they're contagious. Mm-hmm. Well, we stayed on the same floor as the Eagles. So here we are. Now, I did not look. I'm not a terrorist. I didn't go like rubbing door handles, but we were all touching the same elevator thing. Like when we were going up and down the elevator, like we'd walk into the lobby and it's like, oh, there's Nick Foles. Like, what are you doing, dude? Like you're the quarterback. You don't need to stand out here in front of everyone. There was a bar. We went and talked to LeGarrette Blount for a while. I knew he was a big Mavs fan, so we were like, it was fun to talk to him. But I was like, okay, the story's breaking that the Eagles are all getting sick, and I'm like, we're all sick. So, are we the ones?
We gave it to them.
If we would have lost that Super Bowl and then you came on and told that story, I don't know what I would do.
You would have jumped through the
chaos.
screen.
Look,
I love that.
You had the strength of Big Dick Nick, so like you're good to go.
There we go.
Exactly.
What a beast he was for.
That's a pretty good icebreaker story, honestly. It's pretty cool.
It is.
Yeah.
I think you got one more, and then we'll get them out of here, Aidan.
Yeah, well, because I know you guys do the draft show, so I wanted to at least bring it up and promote it. And I'm honestly curious. And if you ever need an Eagles antagonist to come on and argue about the top 5 picks, I'm your guy. But I just want to know real quick, any guys you're keying in on right now who you think in a few months this is who the Cowboys should be looking at?
Yeah, no, and this is where. So I'm a conflicted guy, and it's easy for me to say as not a Cowboys fan who covers the Cowboys, right? So I can like kind of look at this from the team tank movement is not about not wanting them to try. It's just about a preferred outcome to get a better draft pick. But this is not the year you want to be picking 4th or 5th in terms of high-end defensive talent. So your Jalen Ramseys of the world, or your, I'll even I'm trying to think back to Joey Bosa, Nick Bosa, Myles Garrett. I think those guys, a couple of those guys went number 1, or Myles Garrett went number 1. Was Nick Bosa 2, 3? Was Nick Bosa 1?
2.
God, hard to
I don't know if he was 1. He might have been 2. Bosa, the other Bosa brother, was right after Zeke and Jalen Ramsey. He was like
3. Yeah, Joey was 3.
Yeah.
Nick, I think, was 2. It all runs together. You get caught up in that. But like, I do worry about high-end defensive talent. So, Cowboys look like they're going to be picking anywhere between 4th and 6th, although they play the Bengals on Sunday. So I wouldn't be surprised if they beat the Bengals. But I think what I'd say there is like Caleb Farley's a good cornerback from Virginia Tech. He opted out. So we're going to need to see more tape on him, right? We're going to have to get a better feel for him. I think he's a good athletic guy. But Patrick Surtain Jr. from Alabama, I think, and these are both 6'2", 205 guys. Farley moves better than Surtain does, but there's something about these guys, and I'm not going to let it impact my film study, and I need to see more of Patrick Surtain Jr. But those guys that their dad played in the NFL, it seems to always work out for them. Wasn't it Antoine Winfield in Tampa Bay just making plays all the time? Florida State's got a cornerback. I'm actually watching him tonight after I get done talking to you guys. I got to study Asante Samuel, the Florida State cornerback.
Yeah.
Play. It's kind of crazy kind of starting to get in this world of watching guys play. And as a kid, I watched their dad play. It makes me feel super old.
We're getting old.
You know who else was a cornerback in this draft? From South Carolina is J.C. Horn, the cornerback. His dad, Joe Horn. J.C. Horn will get penalized a lot in the NFL, but I do like that he's a physical guy. And so there's kind of my cornerbacks, but you're talking top 5, man. I mean, I'm not comfortable at 4, 5, 6, 7 taking a defensive player. And I don't mean that like in general defensive player. I mean like in this year's draft, because I've yet to be wowed by anyone I've watched on defense. Cowboys are in a good spot, though, where there's enough teams that need quarterbacks that if you can stay around 4, maybe the Panthers will come calling, or maybe Washington, needs a long-term answer and they'll come calling. Maybe the Patriots even want to get ahead of, what they're doing at quarterback. There's enough teams, Bears, enough teams that need or might need, quarterback action that's not Cincinnati, that's not New York and Jacksonville, that they could come calling. So that's where the draft gets real interesting to me, is what happens with those quarterbacks. And I'm split on Fields and Zach Wilson and Trey Lance. I mean, I watch them and I like some of it, and then I'm not getting good overall, top 5 feelings. That's what I look for. I'm grading on a curve here because we're probably going to be picking in the top 5 because we suck so bad. Micah Parsons, the linebacker from Penn State's a good player, but I mean, I'm not really spending high resources on off-ball linebackers. That's just not what I'm doing, but I'm sure someone will come take him, and he's a good player. It's fine. Roquan Smith's proven, he can be a good linebacker taking the top 10. And I'm not saying there aren't guys who are good, but for me, when I'm building a team, I'm thinking different. Cowboys need defensive tackle work. They need safety work. Well, there may not be a first-rounder, a first-round graded guy at DT and safety. So, and I'm still early in my film study, of course. The wide receivers are a lot of fun. Right now, I've got 4 first-round graded wide receivers, and I've still got a lot to watch. But Jamar Chase and Terrace Marshall from LSU and Devontae Smith and Waddle from Alabama, that'll depend on medicals because he did break his ankle. Yeah. And I do worry about it. He's kind of got bird legs, and I don't, guy who broke his ankle and has bird legs just typically doesn't reek of a great NFL career. The Florida tight end, Kyle Pitts, is probably the most fun guy I've watched. Penei Sewell's the OT from Oregon, who could play guard or tackle. That's where I think the Cowboys would go. I know their defense needs help, but I think they would be more comfortable. They love Sewell, I know, inside the star. I think that's where they would go with that top 5 pick if he was still on the board. I think they'd take the tackle. They'd play him at guard if they needed to. And, you have Tyron Smith's long-term replacement, and you have, a long-term piece, and then focus on defense. But let's be clear, they need 5-6 new players on defense. That has to happen. So maybe you can't go that route. So still fighting through cornerback tape. There's a Georgia guy I got to watch. Still fighting through all that stuff. Is there another position? I got my board up right here. I'm just making sure I don't forget anyone. There's a guy who's interesting is Gregory Rousseau. He opted out from he's Miami. Tall, skinny guy, but a defensive end who they would sometime actually play at DT, and he kind of win the way David Irving would win. But man, I am nervous about drafting 6'5", 255-pound guys, calling them a defensive end and then playing them inside in the NFL. And there's no 2020 tape on him because he opted out. And he's got one. I mean, they're talking about a guy who played, wide receiver in high school, and he's playing defensive end his freshman year of college, has a decent year, and then he opts out. But the ceiling is there, and you watch him, you're like, whoa, okay.
Yep.
I might need to see a little more. We're nerve-wracking. If you're picking in the top 10 this year and you're like, man, we got to get some defense, I would be nervous. It's not where you want to be. You want to trade back if you can, but as I always love to remind Cowboys fans and my people on my Twitter timeline, guys, you don't control if the phone rings. I've seen them panic before when the phone wouldn't ring when they go, Jalen Smith. Okay, don't have to take him now. 34, huh? Yeah. They were waiting on the phone to ring, and it just never did.
And this is exactly why we're going to have you on closer to the draft. We said the same thing to JC and Yeoman, so we're going to keep this thing going through the offseason. So we will have you back. So before we get you out here, let the people know where they can listen to you, where they can watch you, where they can tweet you.
Yeah, so at KT Fun Tweets on social media, Twitter, Instagram, really what I mess with the most. On the DallasCowboys.com draft show, new episode coming out Friday. We're bigger and better than ever this year. We added Bucky Brooks. Brian Broaddus is back in the mix. Dane Brugler of The Athletic. I also do the About Them Cowboys podcast on The Athletic. And what pays my bills is my real job. I'm on the Ben and Skin Show 2 to 5, Monday through Friday on 97.1 The Eagle in Dallas. That is KEGL.com. Or you can go get that free iHeartRadio app and just follow the Ben and Skin Show. And tomorrow at 4:05 p.m., when are you guys releasing this thing?
This will be out Thursday, yeah. Thursday morning at 6 a.m.
Today at 4:05 p.m., we are interviewing Dave Grohl of the Foo Fighters.
Love that.
Yesterday we had on Travis Frederick. Travis Frederick does a weekly show with us. We had Mark Cuban on. And we really just goof off the whole time. But talking to Dave Grohl, the Foo Fighters today at 4:05. So that's like fine if you want. Our show's a lot of fun. We don't do a ton of sports. Well, we also do a podcast called Cussing the Cowboys that comes out after every Cowboy game too. It's not safe for work. A lot of bad words on that one, but it's saying what a lot of people are thinking in general about the Cowboys. I'm starting one called Cussing the McCarthy.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Yeah. And it's true. It's after every show that we have somebody on from DFW, Aidan's always like, damn it. Well, I don't want to like these people.
Yeah, I've been tricked into liking you guys. I don't know how I feel about it.
Who are you listening to up there, Aidan? Are they making you listen to we got to listen to Josh Ennis? Is he still around?
Oh, no. I think he's down your way now. He got
why
Nashville.
Is he still employed? I don't understand why people keep giving him jobs.
I don't know.
Awful things on the air. He just keeps getting jobs.
Yeah, he got fired for insensitive comments. I don't know. I don't remember where he ended up, but I'm pretty sure he's down. He might be.
He was in Nashville.
Nashville, yeah. He's gone, but yeah, we don't have that great of people who are talented, but it's just loud. It's just loud garbage. Honestly. Yeah,
and I'm friends with them. I'm friends with I used to go on their show all the time before Cowboys Eagles week. I'm friends with the Cataldi crew. They don't really have me on anymore. But I feel like they're not like making fun of the Cowboys very much when they're losing. Like they back off that hole.
Yeah.
And I remember I've been asked by him a million times, Dak or Wentz. And I'm like, okay. Yes.
They're still doing the Dak or the Wentz or Foles up here. So.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And now Wentz or Hurts.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's all I talk about.
Never stops.
Never
Get
stops.
a quarterback. That's the whole thing. And the Cowboys fans are like, maybe Justin Fields. No, you got a good one. Keep the good one. Like the good one. If the team doesn't win, it's not their fault. Yep. They did the same thing to Romo. They would have done it to Aikman too.
Yep.
You get one. You like them. Keep them.
Yep.
That's everyone trying to get out on the dating market all the time. Find a good one. Go ahead and lock it down.
You don't need to keep swiping. It's okay.
Yeah, nothing good out there.
No, there's not.
Blonde-headed guy from Clemson.
All right, KT. Thank you for hopping on. We have now 3 guys from the draft show on. Now we got to try and go after Broadus. We'll bring him
tag Broadus.
I will. I'm going to tag him. I tweeted him last night. I'm like, all these guys are on. We got to, because his DMs aren't open. So we got to bring him in.
Tell him that KT and Kavanaugh and the guys said, hey man, you got to do it.
Boom. Got to do it. Awesome.
Broadus, who ran an Eagles draft in 99, 2000.
Yeah, I think so.
There for the Eagles. I mean, he ran the draft for the Eagles. Dude, he'd be great to be on this podcast.
Right? You just got to
ask him some questions about that. That's 99, 98 or 99. That's around when Donovan McNabb was drafted. So that is very interesting.
Okay, well, when the ownership changed, so he drafted, his draft had a couple of Pro Bowlers, I believe. He was a good player. He had 1 year they got ran out when new ownership came. When did Lurie buy the team? 2000?
It was like right at the turn of the century. Like
that's when Broadus ran that draft right before the ownership came in.
It's not a bad. Yeah, no, we got to get him on.
Douglas, there's an offensive lineman, Douglas.
Hugh Douglas.
He
drafted Hugh Douglas.
That's pretty amazing, honestly.
Yeah.
We'll get him on.
Draft offensive lineman does. You can have him on. All right, rock on, dude. Thanks for having
me. Awesome. Thanks, KT. We'll be in touch. Another thank you to KT, Kevin Turner, KT Fun Tweets for being on with us. Just another A+ and very extensive interview, Aidan.
Yeah, well, extensive is a great word. It sounds like we're like 60 minutes. The Matt Rule thing, I'm so happy and so grateful that it didn't happen because we're both convinced he's going to be a good NFL coach. Like you said, it's a my guy culture in Dallas, and I guess Matt Rule wasn't one of the guys, but thank God he wasn't.
When he said that, what's that? When he was like, I have on good authority that he couldn't believe he got a phone call. I was like, hello. Thank you.
I couldn't believe that he couldn't get a phone call, especially because he coached at Baylor. But yeah, that to me stuck out, as well as him almost sabotaging the only Super Bowl that I may ever have in my entire life.
It's awesome. All right. We have power rankings and picks to get into still, and we're going to blow through this because this is a very long show, and producer Vince yells at us when we have long shows. So what do you want to do first?
Oh, after last week, I feel like we have to do power rankings. You left the class without a teacher, and things went to shit.
It was just, we're going to bring producer Vince on.
It's an encore.
We left Eddie. Eddie didn't make it to school today. He didn't make it. He's still on the bus. So Eddie's not coming on, but we're going to bring producer Vince in here.
Eddie, do you know how many times Eddie probably missed the bus in general, in life, not just this podcast? Like, he missed the bus every other day, and you know it.
He probably still missed. Like, I could see Eddie being like a bus guy. Like, if he looked like just sitting there at the bus stop. And then, he's one of the guys that's running after the bus.
Running after the bus as he puts his work belt on. Yep, that sounds like him. All right, but Vince does get the call back because his number one last week was so ridiculous. It got the people very fired up.
You're welcome.
Thank you. So we are back. And this should be an interesting one because, there was some upsets.
Mm-hmm.
Who would like to go first? I think actually here, Vince should probably go last because it was perfect that you went last week as well. So do we want to snake it as a triangle? I'll go first to Kevin, to Vince, and then kind of snake style, we'll go Vince, Kevin, me.
Perfect.
On the way back.
Perfect.
All right. So I will start. Not a great week for my brand. Carson Wentz gets benched and the Steelers lose. So my number one, who we thought would be number one at the beginning of the year, Kansas City Chiefs.
I'm going to back you up right there. Gold Standards lose to the Washington football team. The number one team in the league is Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs.
All right, Vince.
So just like Aidan, my number one team has fallen. The Seattle Seahawks have been beaten by the new number one team, New York Giants.
Joe Judge.
Coming out of the best division in football.
I cannot argue with that logic. Your number one fell, so you just replaced them with who beat them.
Love that. All right. Number two for me is
hold on, Vince. This is how it's going. Vince goes number two. Yep.
All right. So my number two team has also fallen to my new number two team, the Washington football team.
Oh my God. They didn't fall. They won.
Yeah, they won.
The Washington football team won.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Now they're number two.
Okay.
I had Steelers at 2 last week.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
I see the logic here.
The best division of football had 2 big wins, so they're one.
Yeah. So this is basically the takeaway from this power ranking is the NFC East is just stronger than anybody else.
Yes.
Exactly. Hard to be good in this division.
My number two team in this division is the team that you are facing this week, Aidan. It is the Taysom Hill-led New Orleans Saints.
I cannot believe we're going to lose a game to Taysom Hill. My number two, this might be controversial. I have the Steelers. They didn't fall far. A lot of people calling them overrated. I do not think that they are overrated. I think if they beat the Bills, they'll be right back at number one. I guess I should say 3, huh?
Mm-hmm.
That would be the Saints. I touched on them enough in our before the interview, so I won't say anything more. So, Kevin, back to you. Do you want to do 2 in a row? I know you're upset you don't get to do 2. Do you want to do 3, 4?
It's okay. I like being the bottom of the triangle.
Okay.
My number 3 is the gold standard Steelers.
All right, so my number 3, I have the Chiefs. I don't know how you don't put them on the power rankings, so I had to.
Had to keep the status quo a little bit.
Welcome to the show, Vince.
Thank you.
And you're 4?
And you're 4th?
We're really bad at this. Oh my God.
There's only 3 people. Like,
all right, my number 4. This only isn't a joke. A little bit. I have the Browns.
Okay,
that's fair.
Yeah.
If anything, they should be on the power rankings of lists that are like teams that are being sneaky good right now.
I think that's fair.
I'm not going to hate that. Number 4 for me is Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers.
That is my 4th as well. I was very impressed with them. Nobody will talk about the fact that they carved our secondary up because we have to do this quarterback controversy, but they are very good. They are my fourth. And my fifth, to cap it off, also had a big win this week, the Los Angeles Rams.
Ooh, I like that. I was thinking about the Rams here. I was thinking about Cleveland here. But I am going to put the Buffalo Bills here. They did what they had to do the other night against San Francisco in Arizona. Josh Allen is a stud. Stephon Diggs looks like he's on a mission. I love Cole Beasley. Buffalo Bills sitting here at number 5 for me.
That was my 5 last week, but I feel like it's elitist to only put winners on power rankings. So my number 5 is a team that they're elite at what they do. No one loses like the New York Jets, so they're my number 5 because they're best in the league at losing.
Goodbye.
Oh my God. Okay, thanks, Vince, for coming on.
That was a shit show.
He put both the New York teams in the top.
He's just on, and a team that has no name.
Yep. I think that sums it up.
Oh God. All right, let's get through these damn games to pick.
Yeah. Do you got any picks?
Here. I'm on my phone right now. Let's pick a game. Ready? Spin the wheel.
Well, hold on. Before you do, this is a what have you done for me lately league. And correct me if I'm wrong, Vince. You're allowed to pop back on for this. We did not miss a pick last week while you were out. So the pressure is on.
Congratulations.
I did. Hold on. At the end of the last episode, I did jump in and say Cowboys money line. So I'm 2-1. But the only reason I said that because I was 2-0.
Okay. Well, you ruined my whole point.
No, but on our serious picks, yes, perfect.
Okay. During the gambling picks, yes. Gambling session last week, we did go 5-0.
All right. My first pick here is the Monday night game. If it happens, Ravens 7-5, traveling to the Browns 9-3. The Ravens are 1-point favorites, and I am going Browns +1 here. Ravens look like they got back on track a little bit against Dallas, but that's against Dallas. The Browns are for real. I don't hate that Vince has them in his power rankings, even though he has the Jets, Washington, and the Giants in there. The Browns may be the only real pick besides the Chiefs. Baker Mayfield looked good last week. They drubbed the fraud Titans, did what they needed to do. And I really would love to see the Browns get to 10 wins in 14 weeks here. So give me Browns +1 at home against the Ravens on Monday Night Football.
Yeah, that's the game of the year for the Ravens. Like, you got to have that one. You just have to.
Yep.
I don't know how to pick that one because I want to believe in the Browns, but we'll see. So for mine, I have the Cardinals -2.5 against the Giants. Cardinals are kind of in a free fall. They really need this game. Giants, if Colt McCoy starts, I mean, Kyler's our guy. He's one of our favorites. I just trust him more than I trust Colt McCoy. I know that logic makes no sense because Colt McCoy just beat Russell Wilson, but I'm just leaning towards the Cardinals out of desperation.
I like that.
Their desperation, not mine, although I do feel despair.
I hate all these games this week.
I was just thinking that. And the one that I'm going to say next, you can tell how much I hate this week by my next pick. So,
like, I want to say Washington +3 at the Niners, which is really in Arizona. But I could see them losing that game too, coming off such a big win. I hate them all. Give me the Vikings +6.5 in Tampa Bay.
I was looking at that one. I know
Tampa Bay. What side did you like?
I like Tampa Bay, but
yeah, that's where I'm going to go. Tampa Bay -6.5 against the Bucs.
Okay.
No, that's where I wanted to go. I was just, Bucs -6.5 at home against the Vikings. Book it. What's your next pick?
Don't let me influence you. If you think Vikings cover, let them cover. Don't trust me. That leads to a lot of bad decisions. Here's how you can tell how much I hate this week. Falcons -2.5 against the Chargers. Like I literally the Chargers might be the next team to fire a coach. Like it is teetering that way. And I don't know the Falcons have the most boring offense in the entire league. It is painful to watch and is so predictable. But even them, I think, can overcome 2.5 points and win by at least a field goal against this Chargers team. Like, this could very much be a game where the Falcons win by a field goal. I don't know. I hate it, but I like it.
That's it. You hate it, but you love it. And you know what I love?
Stateside vodka.
I do love stateside vodka.
Vince is pulling up the tweet right now where Anthony Lynn compared the current Chargers situation to Pearl Harbor.
He also told his team last week that even though they were not mathematically out of the playoff run, that it was a good season. We're done. And that's exactly why I picked the Patriots, which I couldn't believe was an even money line, and they won 45-0.
That is a dead man walking, and that is a dead team. I'm excited to see how the Falcons screw it up, but for now, Falcons minus 2.5. And for now, we turn our sights to Sunday, another big week in the race for a top 5 pick in the beginning of the Jalen Hurts era in Philadelphia. Anything else you got before we leave?
No, just thank you again to KT. Make sure you're following us on all our social media on Twitter. Birds vs. Boys Pod, Brandon _sports, KMess 22. Aidan is around. And make sure you listen, subscribe, rate on Apple, on Spotify, on Google, watch us on YouTube, and make sure you get on the train right now because we are taking over TikTok.
Yes. TikTok train is leaving the station.
Go Bengals.
Go. I don't even know. I'm so apathetic. I don't even know who to root for. The end.
Chris Hansen here, and I'm going to need you all to take a seat right over there and check out Birds versus Boys.
I think you're completely right here, and I hate it.
Yep. Hey, idiots. Stop doing dumb things. I got 2 phones. Upside alert. Upside alert. I might go insane.
I think you're already there. There's no hope. Hope is gone.
If this was an AFC North podcast, we'd be done in 15 minutes.
Bob Hope.
I'm going to drink bleach. That is
the team you promised me you were going to be this year.
This is the Consciously Hopeful podcast.
I'll be watching.